Let's start in the opening drive. LSU and Ole Miss. It was Big 12 football at its finest being played in Oxford. I mean, 55-49. I remember this used to be the LSU Ole Miss basketball scores a couple of years ago, CD.
Yeah.
Second time they overcame a deficit entering the fourth quarter to win under Lane Kiffin. We were asking, would we get a marquee win? Lane Kiffin, would you say that he got it there?
This is certainly the signature win, no doubt about it. And it's ironic that we were just talking about, what could he hang his hat on since he's been in Oxford? What's the win that defines the program? And I don't know that there was one that we really felt like in hindsight had that worthiness of being able to be the signature win. This was that win for them. They needed it. If they would have lost this game, PB, I don't think you realize it would have been 5 straight SEC losses and 6 of the last 7. Not only do they turn the tide there, but they also keep themselves alive in the SEC West race. That was an elimination game in a lot of ways for both teams. LSU out of the national championship hunt, and Ole Miss retaining the ability to stay in that West title race, which, if you're going to get to the SEC championship game, as I said, one of those teams like Kentucky or Ole Miss, this is the year to do it, because I think it's going to be a lot more difficult as you get Texas and Oklahoma into an open conference next year.
We were waiting to see Quinshon Judkins and this offensive line look good. They absolutely looked apart. I mean, they just embarrassed LSU's defensive line so much, in fact, that they're bringing Pete Jenkins back, who was like the defensive line guru, who 82 years old. Like, they had to hire a coach after how bad that film looked.
0 sacks. And this was
unbelievable. That's what we thought would happen.
An offensive line that couldn't get anything going against Alabama the week before, hadn't really gotten the run game going all season long, couldn't pass protect against Alabama, and you and I thought that LSU was going to be able to eat against this line. Jackson Dart really rarely pressured, and that's why you saw so many explosive plays in the run game, open up big holes, and then down the field being able to hit some shots that they certainly could not have against Alabama.
Jackson Dart looked great. Again, Quinshon looked awesome. The crowd was unbelievable.
Trey Harris was awesome, back to doing what he had been doing before his injury.
In fact, I want to hear from Lane Kiffin. Here he was post-game, and Jackson Dart, about how great the environment was in Oxford.
Extremely proud of our players. Before I go to that, let me address something. Because kind of like I feel like I'm hard on our players, I'm hard on our coaches. We set high standards around here, and at times I've been hard on our fans, okay? For them to show up today after us losing last year and I guess set the record for highest attendance in school history for a game, and we say do things better than they've ever been done before is a motto we have. That's awesome to hear that. And you could feel it in the game. You certainly could feel it in the fourth quarter. It was really, really neat to have that electric environment.
Have you ever played in a game quite like this?
Hell no. That was awesome. That was like the funnest. That's like one of the funnest moments of my life.
I don't know if you got a chance to see it. He did like an Instagram live as well too, going back into the locker room, them celebrating, rightfully so. They should. They were needed one of those victories to do it that way, and it was the quintessential Ole Miss Lane Kiffin experience, right? It was they score a bunch of points, the defense just did enough to make sure that they got that win. And you flip it on the other side, though, right now, is you needed that win, but at the same point for Brian Kelly, where are we at now, right? I mean, where are we at with this program? Because they may have just arguably wasted one of the greatest offenses that they have had since 2019 national championship game. Jaden Daniels is incredible. Now you look at Neighbors and Thomas; those guys are fantastic, but you couldn't stop a nosebleed.
It's shocking to me, and we were thinking about what this defense was going to be like this year. Harold Perkins in his second season there, getting Mason Smith back, and what that was going to impact. Like the defensive line really was probably the more disappointing part. We knew the secondary was bad, but to not get any pass rush to help those guys out in the back end was probably the most surprising, especially after what they did against Alabama the previous week, where they couldn't really block the tide all second half.
I'm starting to really believe in this A&M squad, and I'm ready to hurt again. Like you ever have your heart broken and you keep walking down the plank with somebody, you're like, I'm just not going to let that happen to me. Here I am again, believing in Texas A&M, and this is always a weird game. It's up in Dallas, but A&M always finds a way to beat them. Stewart ends up being great.
You said they find a way.
Defensively, they were great as well.
This was not a fluky win. This was not a, hey, we were outplayed but found a way to win. they were the dominant team from the outset.
Yeah.
I thought Max Johnson looked really comfortable with the offensive game plan, his execution of it from the beginning of the game on. I thought they were impressive in all three phases. The defense, that defensive line, the way they were able to get after KJ. Certainly, some of it has to be with the Arkansas offensive line being an issue, but I thought that the pressure they were able to put on KJ was impressive. The way that they were able to stop the Arkansas run. Remember, that was supposed to be
1.1 yards per rush for Arkansas.
The defining moment for me was that 4th and 1 in the first half, where the A&M defense just suffocated got the penetration, was able to stop the try, turn the ball over, and looking at what they did there was just a kind of a microcosm of the entire day for the defense. And let's be honest, special teams was impressive too. And Nia Smith gets the 82-yard return.
We've been kind of waiting for him to show up, right? Like he hadn't had that moment where Nia Smith. How much did we talk about him in the offseason? Like that's one of the dudes. He'd been kind of quiet up until this
I don't
game.
know that it was anything that he had done. I think there's just so many weapons on that Texas A&M offense. There's a lot of really good receivers. It was his turn, and it was ironic that he had his turn, 202 total yards, all-purpose yards, in the same stadium, in the same game where he was injured, had the season in last year. So it was, I think, apropos for him to come back and have that kind of game, given what transpired there last season.
Exciting for it to end that way. Obviously, I wish it would have ended it earlier, and not left him any time on the clock, or caught the interception when he threw it to us, but maybe everything happens for a reason. So made it very dramatic and exciting, and something that I don't think anybody involved with our program will ever forget. I'm sure for 2 days they heard how great they were, outside of here. Made sure they saw we made a lot of mistakes in that game, in all three phases. Way too many penalties, poor decisions, selfish decisions on some penalties, because players are frustrated. And that can't happen, so we have a lot to work on. Everything happens for a reason. I think that we didn't play well in a lot of areas, special teams penalties, defensive disaster, allows us to really make sure that, hey, we got a lot of work to do, and offensive penalties in the game, and some misreads and some runs that would have even been bigger. So the good part is that we didn't play great as a team, so sometimes you do play a great game, and then it's kind of hard to get their attention. So I think we got a lot of attention this morning on the tape. I think Jackson's played really well. I think that, we didn't have a lot of help for him, with everybody not being healthy at Alabama. So I think he's done a really good job. And, not to go backwards, but in that game, 2 plays in the Alabama game that he'd love to take back, and threw the ball really well and very competitive Saturday. He probably changed, 2 of those deeper throws that are a little bit underthrown that, end up being incompletions, but he played great in his mentality of how he played, and jumping over the guy as the last play of the third quarter is awesome for your team. It doesn't matter, with Arkansas playing against Ole Miss, it doesn't matter what they've done before, because if I remember right, I think the week before us they lost to Liberty, and didn't move the ball very well, and then they come out with us and look like a top 5 team in the country. So it doesn't matter what's happened before, so I did use that game as evidence about how these guys come to play against us.
We've been listening to a rather hoarse Lane Kiffin. Michael Katz joining us from Oxford. Michael, I don't know if you can see what I'm holding up some Hall's cough drops here, cherry flavored, that I wouldn't mind you taking over to Coach Kiffin. He did not sound good there, did he?
Yeah, we talked to him yesterday on a teleconference. His voice was a little hoarse. I imagine there's probably been a lot of there's probably a little bit of celebrating in Oxford after that win. It was I've never covered a game quite like that, and it was something else.
I mean, you cover this team. You're also a professor on campus, so you know this university pretty well. In terms of recent years, I mean, I'm not going. I mean, at least under the Lane Kiffin, Matt Luke. I mean, after Freeze, I should say, because we know what he did. I mean, is this the biggest win?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really a question, and I know we've talked about it before. What is Lane Kiffin's signature win at Ole Miss? And you know, they've won ranked games. They beat Indiana in that Outback Bowl. They beat Texas A&M when College Game Day was here a couple of years ago, and they ended up beating you know, Kentucky last year. But those teams didn't end up being great. But I think with this game, I think context and circumstance matters, especially with the way last season ended. We saw them lose to Alabama last year and completely spiral after that. You know, they lost 5 of 6, and after Alabama was the first of 4 in a row to end it. And the question was, you know, this was an Alabama game that they thought they should have won. This was the quote-unquote vulnerable Nick Saban team, and they had everything they could have wanted, and they just couldn't get it done. And the question was, are they going to be able to rise to the occasion for this sort of a game? And you know, was it perfect? No. You know, 650 yards of offense by LSU. There are a lot of penalties, but I think to win a game like this after the heartbreak the week before, and just with it being LSU and everything that program has accomplished in the last 20 years or so, and with it being a rival, I think that all of those things put together, this was the win that Lane Kiffin really needed, and that we've all sort of been waiting for. You know, they've recruited well, they've built up these strong teams, they've been this must-see program, and they haven't really had that moment yet. And I think Saturday seems to be that moment.
Is this team always capable, but do you think this team's good enough to get to Atlanta?
I think so, but it's one of those things where that's why I'm so curious about this next weekend, and it's Arkansas, because Arkansas has historically been a thorn in Ole Miss's side, and particularly with Kiffin. They've played some very, very odd games, and especially when you're coming off a game like they just had, where you were on cloud 9 and everybody rushed the field. You know, how do you react when things are going really, really well? Because this is a game that, if they're not careful, Arkansas could come in and win, and then you're looking up in the SEC West standings again. But I think that this, you know, defensively they're a work in progress. There's no question, and that was always sort of going to be the case. But offensively, they seem to be getting it. They're running the ball well now, and Jackson Dart. We've always wondered when was his moment going to happen, and he came up in a big way against LSU, and he's carried them a lot this year, especially when the running game wasn't going. I think that what they do offensively is going to keep them in a lot of games. The Texas A&M game is looking pretty interesting now as well. The Egg Bowl is always, you know, must watch, but I think, you know, this team has the makings of a squad that could, you know, make that run.
So there was so much made in the offseason about the hiring of Pete Golden as a defensive coordinator. They did make a stop at the end of the game to prevent LSU from going over 15,000 yards total in the game. But still, Michael, what is the view of what he has done so far? Only in just the first fourth of the season.
Yeah, I think that what everyone saw over the weekend was a little bit concerning, but I also think that LSU has a really powerful offense with a lot of really you know, future NFL players and a quarterback who is playing about as well as anybody. So, you know, would you have liked to have given up less than 49 points? Of course, and we hold them to under 650 yards, absolutely. But I think the biggest thing that, for the most part, this defense, and we'll take this past weekend out of the equation because no defense played well in that one, was they've made adjustments for the most part. And you look at, you know, even against Alabama, I know Alabama outscored them 18-3 in the second half, but the offense didn't really give the defense much of a chance to catch its breath, and they were put in some pretty bad spots, but the defense really kind of kept them in that game against Tulane. When the offense wasn't really getting things going, the defense held its ground. really the only second half where they maybe looked a little bit worse than the first half was Georgia Tech, and that was just sort of Georgia Tech kind of made its run late there a little bit, and then the defense found its grounding. But I think for the most part, Pete Golding's done a really nice job of making adjustments and changing schemes and not being one-dimensional in terms of what they're coming out in, base formation-wise. And was Saturday pretty but like you said, they got the stop that they needed, and I think that does go a long way too.
There's something about this game, because last year, about the only thing I can remember Pete Golding doing all year long was leading his team to make the key stops in Oxford against Ole Miss. Maybe it's just a special situation. So let me move on. You mentioned the Arkansas game. Whether it's a thorn in the side, how does Lane Kiffin get everyone down? Because it seems to me, you're there, I'm many miles away, that everybody, at least other than the players, are still celebrating.
Yeah, and Lane even said that today. For the last couple of days, they've been hearing how great they are. But he did, I thought, bring up something pretty interesting today was the fact that they did so many things wrong in that game, especially defensively and with the 11 penalties that really almost, those could have been very costly and could have been the defining parts of that game. There were so many things to work on that I think that the coaching staff isn't going to have a hard time saying, yeah, that win was great, but you've got a lot to work on because we cannot look like this again, particularly defensively. The week before, the offense was the one being held accountable, and they came up in a big way this week. This time around, it's the defense that is getting the talking to, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they come out against an Arkansas team that has scored a lot of points against them recently. But I do think that with there being so much to work on from that tight win, I don't think they're going to have a problem getting their feet back on the ground.
We have the schedule up, and quite frankly, I think there's only one more game. I'm going to try to be a quick odds maker here, that Ole Miss would probably be an underdog in. That's at Georgia. And so that doesn't matter a whole lot, but it is an indicator what this team is capable of. Agree, Mike?
Absolutely. Where I thought this team could be when the season started, I was asked for how many wins. I could have said 6-6, and I could have said 10-2, and I could have said 9-3, and I could have been 8-4. And this stretch of games was really going to define it. And so I think splitting Arkansas and LSU was huge because that puts you in a pretty good spot. Arkansas, we'll see what happens. Auburn is going to be fascinating because there's so many different layers there with Hugh Freeze there and everything that happened with Lane and Auburn last November. But that should be a game that they're able to win. Georgia obviously is Georgia. They're the two-time defending champions for a reason, but they haven't looked perfect recently either. And Ole Miss is if there's anyone who's going to be able to figure things out offensively, it's probably Lane. And so, though they won't be favored in that game most likely, but all the other ones look winnable. But there's a lot of football left to be played, and I really think it's fascinating to see what this team looks like this coming weekend. I think we're going to learn as much as we learned about them against LSU. I think we're going to learn a lot about them against Arkansas too.
Difference in panic and a difference in really reviewing what we're trying to do and who's trying to do it. So we may shake up the offensive line a little bit, and you have to practice it. So you have to see if what you think might works in practice. I think that would be one way. We got to make some guys miss at running back. Our quarterback has to play consistent, and we've got to be able to get open. If you look at it, I think offensively, I think a lot of it's been maybe tagged on the offensive line, and there's certainly problems there. But there's a lot of areas that we can get better at. I think our team, I'll have a better feel of them this afternoon, but I've talked to a lot of the kids today, and Trey, we went We lost 3 in a row 2 years ago and bounced back pretty good, and I think we will again. But I don't know that we can continue to do the same things and say, well, we're just going to get better at them. I think we've got to shuffle some things up to maybe ignite a spark into us a little bit, because I do think we've got good players, and we just got to play better and coach better. We got to score a lot of points, to stay in the game. You think of Lane Kiffin and I don't know the word mastermind, whatever. I mean, he's as good as a play caller as there is in the game. And so you think of those two things. Pete Golding has done a great job with their defense. I know that, obviously they gave up some points Saturday night. I guess that's why people like college football, games like that. It was incredible. But they are much better up front than they have been on defense, and now they're knocking the hell out of you from the back end. But when you think of the series, it's been a fun series, and we've had some success in the series since I've been here. Obviously, we got bowl eligible last year, playing Ole Miss, so have a lot of respect for them.
You mentioned Lane Kiffin, was that his name?
Lane Whiffen, yeah, that's what we call him. What a wonderful win there against LSU. That's already lost a couple games now this season, but I'm not buying into their hype either. I get it. Their back's against the wall. They had to win that game. They did it, so let's credit them. But where was that against Alabama when you really needed it, when you had a chance to assert yourself? They still go to Georgia. They still got to play A&M. They've got some tough games remaining. I just don't have confidence in Lane Kiffin, but I do find him entertaining. So I hope he can win a couple of these games, keep him off the hot seat, because he makes my job a lot easier.
So, Matt, you just saw Texas A&M beat Arkansas. Let's start with Arkansas. They have, I'm not laughing. Yes, I am. Ole Miss and Alabama left. I mean, is there what's left of that program right now? Can they bounce back?
It's going to take a lot. I mean, there's a reason why Coach Pittman's talking about, hey, we're going to shake some things up front, and we got to do something different. You're watching them. Now, part of it is they ran into a buzzsaw on Saturday. I think that this A&M defense I think it's real. And you look back and everybody will say, what happened at Miami? Well, what happened at Miami is what happened. They had the big plays in the pass game. But they've clearly figured some things out. I think that front especially is maybe as salty of a front, meaning from a negative yardage play, big play potential. They're like number 2 in the country in tackles for loss. I mean, the past 2 weeks they've just been unconsciously good. Part of that was you'd think, well, but look at who they've played against. That they played an Auburn team a couple weeks ago, and then of course you get Arkansas this week. I don't care. You get KJ Jefferson on the ground as regularly as they did. Not many teams have been able to do that with him, and they did it. So Arkansas right now, I think more than anything else is they're going to have to figure out a way to get the ball out of KJ's hands because it's in it too long. So, and he trusts his ability to extend plays, but it's costing them. There's a lot of negative yardage plays, a lot of 10-plus yards to go, and they're down in distance. They got to fix that. And Rocket Sanders, he was in the lineup. He had the big screen pass that he took for like 40, I want to say, but he doesn't look like he's full speed. It doesn't look like he doesn't have a gear. There was very little burst. I mean, you can see it. Still a good back. He's got good vision. But there was no burst through the line, and you thought, this guy doesn't look 100%. Because of that, especially offensively, you're given pause because out wide they're long. They're all 6'4" receivers, big guys. But right now, Jefferson either isn't comfortable enough to give them 50-50 balls and let them fight for it, and they've done a relatively good job of protecting the ball this year. But they're going to have to do something to stretch some defenses, and he's going to have to let the ball air out a couple of times.
To help us understand this game in College Station better, you mentioned what you like about A&M, matching up against Alabama.
Well, the biggest thing for A&M to me is if they can get you to third down, they're one of the best third down defenses in the country. But the reason is you look at it, it's because the teams that they're facing, they average almost a full distance to go to convert. It's third and 9.8. And it's a function of those negative yardage plays that they're creating. And then you think about, and you're playing at Kyle Field, which there's so many great home field advantages. You heard Kirby Smart talking about it's tough to play at Jordan-Hare, and it is, and you could tell. And now you're going to talk and take a first-year starter at quarterback who, albeit had his best game last week versus Mississippi State, into Kyle Field versus a defense that is as effective generating negative yardage plays, penetrating the offensive backfield, that the odds of them getting it to third and manageable are longer, just playing the averages so far this season, than Alabama would have faced all season long. And when you look at their conversion rate, they're really good on third down. You get them at 3rd and 6+, it plummets to like 29% conversion. So the whole game defensively for A&M is, can you survive 1st and 2nd down and get Alabama into those 3rd and longs? That's true of every week, and people are going, oh, well, of course, who doesn't want to do that? A&M has been so effective at it, though, that, I mean, we triple check the numbers, and you're going, this is unbelievable. Arkansas was good at converting 3rd and longs in the first half, and then you saw what happened in the second half. You just can't make a living, and A&M consistently gets you behind the down and distance so much that you're forced into these obvious passing situations.
Texas A&M's defense held Arkansas to 174 yards and sacked KJ Jefferson 7 times in a 34-22 victory. Max Johnson has thrown a pair of touchdowns in each of the last 2 games since taking over for Connor Wegman. And Ole Miss outlasted LSU in a 55-49 barn burner. Ole Miss scored its most points in a game against an AP-ranked opponent all time, while the teams combined for the 3rd most total yards ever in an SEC conference game. Here's a look at the SEC West standings. Alabama, Texas A&M tied atop the SEC West as they prepare to meet in College Station on Saturday. Then LSU, Ole Miss stand 3rd and 4th. Auburn, Arkansas, Mississippi State seeking their first league victory.
Ole Miss looks to make it 2 in a row since losing at Alabama after outlasting LSU in the highest scoring Magnolia Bowl ever. It will take plenty of moil for Pete Golding's defense to get back on track. But what has become of our beloved Piggies? Sam Pittman's Hogs can't run the ball, and 3 straight losses could quickly grow to 5 with a trip to Alabama next week.
Houston Nut Bowl right there.
I'm curious about one thing because you're going to see Arkansas again this week, but how would you describe that program right now, which is mired in a losing streak that could get a lot worse?
Yeah, it was a rough day for Arkansas on Saturday. And I think a huge part of that, which I would encourage Razorback fans to remember, is maybe you were going up against one of the best D-lines in the SEC, or what will prove to be one of the best D-lines in the SEC. They collapsed the pocket around KJ Jefferson. They forced him to be in there for however long he had, which often wasn't very long. 7 sacks in that game, like I mentioned earlier. Rocket Sanders is back. Obviously, the offense changes. He looks to be mostly healthy, and he said that he was feeling pretty much back to normal. I wondered if maybe he was still at like 90-95% watching him go through warmups. But Rocket Sanders has so much speed and burst that we saw throughout the course of that game as well, that even a 90% Rocket Sanders is 100% running back really anywhere else in the country. Arkansas, I think, is a better team than people are giving them credit for. They've suffered through inopportune injuries at horrible, horrible times. But what kind of breaks my heart the most is some of the narrative around Sam Pittman from the fan base right now. And I'm going back through as I'm prepping for this game this weekend. I remember being on the field in 2019 when Western Kentucky blew Arkansas out on their own field. And I'm doing a post-game interview with Western Kentucky's head coach. We're night and day from 2019 and what that Arkansas team looked like. So I would tell Razorback fans, have patience. Maybe this is an opportunity this weekend to take advantage of an Ole Miss team that had an emotional weekend last week.
Yeah, no, Alyssa, the panic meters is
it's high.
Running overdrive in a lot of places. Arkansas won, Florida, and surprising, maybe it shouldn't surprise me, but the LSU fans this week have just been biting nails. The other game, Arkansas in Oxford to take on Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin celebrating, I hope he's not still celebrating, the biggest win that he's enjoyed since being at Ole Miss. Is there any hope for this Arkansas team?
I don't have a lot. Maybe they're going to make those adjustments on the offensive line. They're still trying to figure out the right rotation of guys. It's so alarming, and it's just stunning to see a Sam Pittman coached offensive line struggle the way that it has so far. And you feel bad because coming into the season, KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders, that's one of the best 1-2 punches, not just in the SEC, but in all of college football. And the timing of this scheme change has probably not done them any favors. They have not pass protected particularly well at all. And so you're looking at how much that could limit them. And it's not that they've been bad defensively. I think Travis Williams has been a really good hire. They still get exposed a little bit on the back end sometimes, but they're vastly improved defending the run. But I look at this matchup against an Ole Miss team that last week reminded us they do have that offensive firepower, despite what they showed a week earlier in Tuscaloosa. And if Quinshon Judkins can get going like that, to me, that is just a really, really troubling development for an Arkansas group that looks like it could struggle a lot. And if they're playing from a deficit, that is advantage Ole Miss. Ole Miss can get in the backfield. Say what you want about Pete Golding. Say what you want about his defense. I think they have like 20 guys that have a tackle for loss this year. They will absolutely get into the backfield despite what we saw last week. So, yeah, I really don't have a whole lot of hope for Arkansas. I think even Arkansas fans at this point don't have a whole lot of hope going into this matchup.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it earlier, but I think this Arkansas-Ole Miss game is really interesting to me because you've got a situation where they're not happy in Fayetteville, obviously, with what has transpired. On the flip side of it, Oxford, I mean, they're still probably hanging out of the library and Funkies after that win against LSU. How do you kind of quickly turn around and get off that high? The emotional roller coaster for Ole Miss fans between losing to Bama, winning the way you did against LSU, now to be back at home coming up at another night game in Oxford.
Yeah, I don't think you purposefully made the point, but you did a good job there. And that's like, hey, turning around and having success after losing is easier sometimes than it is to come back and have success after you just won. You mentioned all the celebration that went into Saturday night, all of the emotion that was expended in the back and forth nature of that ball game with LSU last week. How you're able to turn the page and move forward is something that's a real test. Look at what Missouri's done. Missouri's done a nice job of winning and then moving on from that. Can Ole Miss do the same thing against an Arkansas team? You feel like it has their back against the wall right now. What did they lost the last 3 ball games, I believe? So this is a team that has some desperation to them. I think that point spread, double digits, is way too many points to be giving Arkansas with where they are right now and the position that I think this is a big-time trap game for Ole Miss.
Tomorrow night, Arkansas heading in there. And last year, this game was a stunner in many ways. But Cole, as we try to figure out Arkansas, perhaps before even Ole Miss, what is going on with this program other than a brutal stretch?
In the middle of that brutal stretch, Paul, I think some identity on offense is what Sam Pittman would like this group to find. Rocket Sanders back last week, didn't get a full go, but I think he'll be closer to 100% this week. They'd like to give him 25, 30 carries if they can get him going similar fashion to what they had last season. They'll move the offensive line around a little bit, try to find some other tight ends that could potentially contribute. North Texas transfer Varkey's Gums. I look for him and his athleticism to maybe be someone who can help this Arkansas rushing attack get going and then maybe be utilized in play action. Defensively, they'll have their hands full because obviously Lane Kiffin's group on offense is almost back at full strength. That's been really the issue for Ole Miss on offense is availability. And Travis Williams, that new defensive coordinator at Arkansas, knows tempo, big plays, a mobile quarterback, and the best running back in college football are something he's going to have to try and manage.
We have Arkansas taking on Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, I really am curious to what the mindset will be of the Ole Miss Rebels. I mean, coming off that huge win last week against LSU, the amount of energy that was exerted in that back and forth game, the amount of emotion afterwards with everybody, partying on the field. Who knows how long that party went in Oxford, Mississippi, but I think sometimes how you handle success is more challenging than how you handle defeat. So how do the Ole Miss Rebels kind of rally and refuel the tank against a team in Arkansas that I think they're desperate right now? And a desperate team's a dangerous team. Their backs are against the wall. This series has had a lot of weird back and forth games in it. So I think Arkansas will be competitive in it. I don't necessarily agree with the double-digit point spread that Vegas has. But I think the game does come down to the Arkansas offensive line. They were brutal last week against Texas A&M. I feel bad for KJ Jefferson. If the Ole Miss front seven can eat the way that Texas A&M did last week, it'll be a long day for Arkansas. But I actually think this will be a competitive game that Ole Miss wins late by a score.
Chris, I realize there have been some injuries, especially to Rocket Sanders, but what else has gone wrong for Arkansas?
Now, just about everything, right? I mean, you can list a number of different things. The biggest thing, I think, is they're a victim of their own success, right? They had too many wins too early, and the fan base got used to winning. That program was a mess after Chad Morris left. And you look at what Coach Pittman was able to do in his first 2 years. They set the bar really high, and now you're seeing the departure of some really key guys from that locker room. The offensive line, I think, is the thing that's really upset the fan base the most, given Sam Pittman's history as a great offensive line coach. That's one of the more head-scratching things. But all offseason, we talked about maybe the best quarterback-running back duo in the country coming back in KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders, but yet they have been neutralized largely because the offensive line has been so bad. And I think that's the real root of all their struggles right now.
Now, how about Arkansas? You saw, I guess it was a compliment sandwich there for Arkansas than if it was an insult sandwich for A&M, right? Arkansas's got Ole Miss coming up in primetime, SEC Network, right here Saturday night. Ole Miss gave up a lot of points, scored a lot of points, though. You take a look at the matchup here. They lead the league in scoring, second in total offense. Arkansas, meanwhile, near the bottom, all right? 10th in scoring defense and 9th in total defense. That means for Ole Miss, you might want to get Jackson Dart's arm loose as we go inside the SEC, presented by Auto Owners Insurance and Alyssa Lane.
Emotions have been running high for the last few weeks here in Oxford, Mississippi, following that loss against Alabama 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, the highest of highs, that win against LSU here about a week ago. Lane Kiffin says the message to his team pretty much remains the same. Continue to prepare the way that you have been all season long. Now you're on the other end of the spectrum with everybody telling you how great you are. How will you handle this success against Arkansas? On the other side, the Razorbacks are a team coming in, not having played the football that they feel like is their full potential so far this season. They feel like they're a game away from getting this season back on track, becoming bowl eligible, and getting this team to a place where they truly believe that it can be. And where better place to do it than on the road here in Oxford in the SEC West.
Arkansas traveling to Ole Miss, the Grove, baby. But Ole Miss, this is the team we've been waiting for all year. Feed Quinshon Judkins, 33 rushing attempts, 177 yards. Jackson Dart's playing as good as anybody in the country, but I will say that defense, they ain't stopping a sniffle right now. So KJ Jefferson is
someone give him a tissue.
Last chance for Brandon Allen of the Razorbacks. 4th and 25. It's complete to Henry. It's on lateral. Arkansas keeps it going. Collins is going to take it inside the 15, and he has the first down. Allen to the end zone. Touchdown, Arkansas. Allen takes it, dives. Arkansas wins it in overtime.
Loose football. Arkansas scoops it up, heading to the end zone. 34 yards out, and it's good. Arkansas will win this. What a comeback. It's Cole Kelly going deep and got it. A touchdown strike to LaMichael Pelway. Phillips again. He's in. And the Rebels have the lead on a 5-yard touchdown run. Jefferson to the end zone. And we are an extra point away from overtime. AJ chased. Keep partying, Oxford. What a game.
I mean, I hope we're in for some of those fireworks later on today. Arkansas and Ole Miss. This one, our SEC Saturday night matchup. Here's Tom Hart and Cole Kublik to get you ready for it.
All right, guys, the beauty of this series is you never know what to expect. 7 overtimes, 52-51, 4th and 25. Something crazy always happens. That's what happened last year. Arkansas got off to a big lead. Were you at that game last year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Maybe something crazy this year wouldn't be unexpected based on the history. Also, the fact that Ole Miss is coming off this emotional shootout against LSU. How do you keep the complacency from taking over the program if you're Lane Kiffin?
Well, I think the first thing you have is availability. So all of your weapons seemingly are back in your offense, and you unlocked Quinshon Judkins last week. There should be a lot of reasons to be excited about what you can generate on offense moving forward.
Meanwhile, offensively for Arkansas, yeah, KJ Jefferson is doing his stuff, but this offensive line has been completely reshuffled this week and for this game, easy as it sounds, or easier for Arkansas than others?
Well, not easy when you're trying to move guys around, because you take the continuity you did have and now you remove it. And you're going against a defense that's given up a few yards. You have a quarterback that can direct traffic, but you still have to try to find a run game with Rocket Sanders, who did finally come back last week against A&M.
Best running back in this game when perfectly healthy, Rocket Sanders or Quinshon Judkins?
It's Quinshon Judkins. I think he's the best running back in college football.
All right. That's it. That's our prime focus for tonight. Arkansas and Ole Miss.
The rest. Razorbacks won the toss. They've elected to defer. Ole Miss will get the ball to start. Cam Little will kick us off. And Ulysses Bentley IV is deep to receive for Ole Miss. And we are underway in Oxford. No return for Bentley. Rebels were sensational on third down against LSU last week. Blitz coming up the middle. Dart gets rid of it. Too high and incomplete. And this Arkansas defense comes up with a big stop. Game, a lot of plays, a lot of opportunities. Jefferson gets rid of it. And able to turn upfield is Ty Washington. They'll bring 4 on 3rd and 4 to the slant, and that's caught for an Arkansas first down. % of his passes this year. And what a start for Arkansas. Another first down. This is Andrew Armstrong, the Division II transfer. Brady Latham at right tackle. Jefferson finds Andrew Armstrong. And Armstrong is able to get a good chunk of it back. Failed on a key 4th down last week on a 4th and short. 5 of 8 on the season, and that's the 6th 4th down completion as Ty Washington gets another one. Leaves 2nd and 20. Game's up front. They bring 4. Jefferson's got to move the pocket again. And he lobs it downfield. Is flag on the play, and it's still caught by Washington.
Pass interference, defense number 6. That penalty will decline. Global play, first down.
Take a look at the interference downfield, just contact before the ball arrives.
Can't do that.
Trying to take both. And KJ Jefferson just keeping the ball alive. He had a twist on the right side of that offensive line. Jared Ivey came free, looping back inside. KJ saw him early, gets outside of the pocket.
On 3rd and goal. Out to the edge. Touchdown, Arkansas. Ty Washington.
A brilliant game plan from Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. last week.
Carried the ball 33 times. Dart on play action has to hold it, and he's able to avoid the sack. Talked with Quinshon yesterday. He said, you know, my fake toss, and Dart gets taken down right at the line. Pressure coming, and a little bit low that time. And he'll take the direct snap. Looking for a seam. Found it. Touchdown Ole Miss, and the Rebels' first lead of the night. Simulated pressure again. Jefferson steps up and now will scramble. And straight ahead run, and the big fella rumbles for a first down. Trying to bring down KJ Jefferson.
Boy, it was an excellent pick by Kari Coleman. He sold himself out for the twist, and KJ understands where that pressure's coming from.
Now a 3-game losing streak. Jefferson wanted to go deep. Strong arm, and on time for a first down to Andrew Armstrong.
In front by this offensive line. You see the twist on the right side. It's a really good job by Joshua Braun, the right guard, 78, just having the understanding. My man leaves. Defensive end's got to be coming back in to replace, and here you see the route. As I said before, there's never going to be a ton of separation from these Arkansas receivers, but Andrew Armstrong,
he's played it safe, keep the ball in front of him defense. And on the reverse, they're able to throw him down for the loss. Huge play by Arkansas.
Unblocked and just attacking into the backfield. Excellent job just shooting off the football. And that's that unblocked defender on the end of the line of scrimmage.
They bring only 4. Dart felt pressure on the run. And a hair low. And Jordan Watkins crossing the field. Meet regularly since 1981, even before they were conference mates. Here's Rocket Sanders on the catch, and 5 of the last 8 in this series have been decided by 4 points or less. And what's made it so close is that Arkansas sent an unranked team into a ranked Ole Miss opponent. Fake the toss, will give to Judkins, trying to find the edge, and he's taken down in the open field by Hudson Clark.
17, he's over on the right side of your screen. Watch just everything happening in the backfield. Motion to the left, another motion to the right. You got a puller coming over that direction.
Now 3rd and 19. Dart quickly to Watkins. Good block from Prescore. A gain of 10, and I'll believe 4th and long near midfield. A chance to play at Arkansas, learn the position, and since still learning it in many ways, takes off running. He's able to pick up 6 on first down. Charlie Weiss Jr. has been with Lane Kiffin for a while now. He was an assistant. When Lane was assistant at Alabama, he was an offensive analyst. And there's another failure on 3rd down for Ole Miss, 0 for 6. Dart over the middle. And it is knocked down by Jalen Braxton.
Coach, what do you need to see from your offense in the second half to generate some more rhythm?
Well, we've been really poor on 3rd down. The quarterback's struggling to move around a little bit, and we're just off today. So starting the first drive on the first 3rd down. So good thing we're playing really good defense. We got to clean this up and got a big half to go.
How's Jackson Dart? We saw him take a hit early in the first half.
Well, I mean, you guys can figure that out on your own. He's not moving great, but we still got to make these throws.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Caught for a first down and a turn upfield by Ty Washington. Jefferson unloads. Great footwork on the sideline to haul it in.
That you needed, and just a long throw from KJ Jefferson. And as you mentioned, Tom, Tyrone Broden, great feel from where the out of bounds marker was going to
just go ahead and put that target line at the 50. Yeah, he got it.
Just an absolute bomb.
That's sweet. We had Chuck Liddell in the stands. I just ran into Emeril Lagasse up here. Judkins bounces off defenders. Talking with Charlie Weiss about that in our meetings yesterday. Arkansas brings 5. Jordan Watkins with the grab for a pickup of 9. Going for it on 4th and 4. No surprise. Pressure coming, and they take Dart down. And Arkansas has seized momentum with a long field goal and now a sack from Malik Chavis.
By Judkins coming over and picking up 1 defender, but you have 5 offensive linemen, 5 defensive linemen. That's the extra defender that Jackson Dart has to throw hot off of. That's his responsibility, and the ball's got to come out.
They're just going to surge ahead with a push. Jefferson wide open. And a first down for Arkansas. That yardage could make a huge difference on this drive. It leaves 2nd and 11. Virginia trying to get it back, and they'll shove the entire pile to first down territory, it seems. 6 for 6. They'll go ahead and take the 3. That one sent into the stands. Here's Bentley. And he got stood up and took a lick. Dart over the middle. There's the, bad way. What a hit put on Dayton Wade. Really qualifies. 1:03 left in the 3rd quarter. KJ Jefferson has all day. And he's able to drop it into a window and pick up a first down to Andrew Armstrong. Jefferson's got it. And just short. Looking for a screen to Sanders. Turns upfield. He's got a first down. Rocket Sanders takes it all the way down to the 21. 20-yard gain for the Razorbacks.
We just mentioned a couple series ago, Tom, how these traditional screens had not gone. What's the patience from KJ Jefferson? Wait, and deliver a nice ball. Seastrong can't make the play. Rocket Sanders bouncing off defenders. Couple offensive linemen downfield.
And on 2nd and 6, Jefferson caught! Arkansas touchdown, Ty Washington! What a play by KJ Jefferson! Mom and his stepdad in the stands loving it.
Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, 11, coming in on the pressure. The poise of KJ Jefferson to hold that ball down in the belly of his running back, pull it out, knowing there's pressure in his face.
They need 2. And they didn't get it. Arkansas stops him again. Jackson Dart hands it off. That play is blown up by Jeffcoat. It's a loss of 6.
7, left side of your screen, just going to come straight up field, unblocked. That's one Jackson Dart's going to really want to have back when he gets into the film room. Pull that ball. You follow your pulling guard and tackle front side.
And let it get under 5 seconds. Dart pressured again. Jeffcoat got to him again. And the pass is batted incomplete. Right off of Eric Gregory.
Inside. Swipe the hands, now spin back in. Oh! Judkins trying to help out. Travis Williams told me before the game about Trajan Jeffcoat. He said he is a takeover guy.
On 3rd and goal, direct snap to Judkins. He gets bottled up. What a big play by the Arkansas defense. It's a loss of 2. And credit Brad Spence, the freshman from Houston, for getting into the backfield.
And just a pressure right through the middle of that offensive line. You see him slither through. It's an excellent job by Antonio Greer.
2 tonight. Jefferson under pressure. Steps away from it, lowers his shoulder, and he barrels his way to an Arkansas first down.
Coach, you challenged your team to respond after an emotional last 2 weeks. How did they do it tonight?
Well, not really pretty, but we won the game on defense, made some runs there at the end, but you know, this is hard, man. This is the SEC, so to be 5-1 headed into a bye, it's pretty good.
How was Jackson able to lock in despite getting beat up tonight?
Yeah, he's a warrior. Obviously, he was hurt, and his game was off today. We didn't play well at all in the passing game today, so we gave him a lot of opportunities, but the defense came up big.
Yeah, a couple of turnovers for them, including the game-sealing one. How would you evaluate their overall night?
I think it's awesome. I mean, you know, you think you want all these shootouts, but you love to be able to win some on offense and some on defense like that. That's what a team is.
Thanks, Coach.
Ole Miss coming off the win against LSU. Was there going to be a letdown when Arkansas comes to town? And early on, KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders, they had momentum.
Yeah, KJ Jefferson holds the ball in the pocket, and he always finds a guy down the field, and there's a lot of broken tackles on the back end.
This is a worst-case scenario for Lane Kiffin after Ty Washington puts Arkansas 2017.
And great ball placement right there by KJ Daniels, keeping it away from the safety on the back shoulder for a second touchdown pass of the game.
So KJ Jefferson makes the remarkable play. Quinshon Judkins, 34-yard run down to the 24-yard.
And they run the ball as well as anyone in the country, and it's that misdirection run game that's hard to stop.
And a stable of backs, too. Ulysses Bentley started his career at SMU. Now he's running the ball at Ole Miss.
And he led them with 94 yards rushing on the night in that touchdown.
So that gives them the lead, and you finally got the sense that they were going to exhale here. The defense gets the game-sealing interception.
Yeah, and this is the second interception of the game by T.Y. Jefferson.
There you go. Wait, it's the second by KJ.
What are we?
We just beat up KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
He threw 2 picks, and we beat him up in the show.
Arkansas and Ole Miss. You asked the question.
I did.
Would they feel a little bit of an LSU hangover, right? It was a bit of a slow start.
Arkansas, though, they came out of the gates hot, moving the football after a disappointing loss last week, culminating in this touchdown pass from KJ.
KJ Jefferson to Ty Washington, Jefferson to Washington. All the presidents getting involved there, and the Razorbacks up 7-0. And then Jefferson. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I don't know if I said this if it was accurate when I said it at the time, but I said that might be the worst throw he's ever made. It's not a good one.
It's definitely up there, and part of the reason is he's getting pressure throughout the night, but also the accumulation of pressure from last week. And from the first time this game, he's going to do something like that.
Quinshon Judkins direct snap on 4th and goal. What a surprise.
First touchdown, the quarter's almost over with for Ole Miss. After putting 55 up last week, Arkansas's defense did a good job for much of the night against the Rebs.
Jackson Dart to Dayton Wade. First down, 17 yards for the Rebels. 2nd and goal in the second quarter. Dart to Wade one more time, 6 yards, and they now are up 17-7, and all inhaling fire extinguisher fumes.
That's not good.
That can't be good, right?
Maybe it's organic.
Organic fire extinguisher? Look, if I want something to put out a fire, I don't want it to be organic, just so you know. Jefferson to Washington. Wow, yeah, I'll tell you.
It worked so well the first time, let's do it again.
That's exactly right. Arkansas takes the lead 20-17. Next Ole Miss drive. Judkins.
Finally got it going in the fourth quarter. They ran for over 100 yards. Took a while, but they got it going, and largely because they had some rhythm offensively due to their third down conversions.
And then a presidential name, Ulysses Bentley IV.
Got to put the S in there.
Is that accurate, or is that just?
I don't know.
You making up a middle name here?
But this was not accurate.
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
No, picked off for the second time. It was not easy for Ole Miss. Remember, Arkansas had a chance to beat LSU. Arkansas had a chance here to beat Ole Miss. Arkansas let opportunities against A&M get away. 4th straight loss for the Hogs. Lane's team, 5-1.